Pee-wee, before the days of the internet were the days of these. I wasn't alive before the internet. Kiss fan, welcome to It's All For You Demon, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan, and tonight, the fun...
Wash it.
And the fun we are celebrating tonight is the almighty compact disc. Before the world got complicated, before we found ourselves all in a hurry. It was a fun time, it was a good time, and it was a time I find myself back into now, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. So tonight, I thought we would do a CD appreciation vlog. Pee-wee?
Just 24 great albums in the complete Kiss compact disc and cassette catalog. From the beginning to the new Revenge. It's enough to keep you in Kiss rock and roll forever. And a complete Kiss album catalog available on Mercury Records.
I will start off with saying I have no idea why I suddenly have drifted back into CDs, why my listening style here in the basement has returned to CDs. It's very strange, but I thought we would explore that tonight. But before we do that, let's jump into the dogs of It's All For You Demon. And tonight's entry, our good friend Emily Graziano and her dog Sierra. Now, if you know Emily herself, she has a great channel. Beyond being a diehard Kiss fan, Emily is very much into classic movies, the royal family, the Beach Boys. It's a great channel if you want to really see pure fandom. Give Emily a follow, her link is below, and here's her dog, Sierra, for the dogs of It's All For You Demon. And before we get into these CDs, I will say it is kind of weird for me to do this video because if you think about it, these CDs are more nostalgic for me than most any other thing I talk about on this channel, because most of the stuff I talk about on this channel is a Coin era stuff. I was not a Kiss fan until late 1988, so these CDs are totally my era of the band. This is when I became a fan, collecting that back catalog on CD. This was a mission for Danny and myself, our friend Brett, like a neighborhood mission. This is bringing a smile to my face. This is some pure, actual Wax Night, before the Wax Night basement existed. Danny, myself, Brett, nostalgia. So I thought tonight for a CD appreciation video, I would take a look at some CDs from my collection that just are special to me and why they are special to me and the memories I have attached to those CDs. First up on my list is going to be the Double Alive CD. This was a time when sound savers were huge, and there was a mom and pop video store in St. Joe called Video Exchange, and they sold the sound saver CDs for $9.99. Well, they priced Alive and Alive 2 for $9.99, and that meant everything to us as teenagers because we weren't made of money, and getting a double CD that should have been $20 for $10 was a dream come true. I also just have a lot of memories associated around this for how big this CD was, because if you had a CD holder that only held single CDs, you were screwed. And I will say, as a young kid getting into this band, this was the first time I ever saw the notes for Alive. And that's pretty big, because if you think about it, you know, seeing those notes in the Gatefold album was huge for kids in the 70s. And, you know, we didn't collect vinyl in 1989, 1990. So seeing this for the first time was pretty mind-blowing, and being able to read those notes was a very, very cool thing for me as a young fan. Next up, Dynasty, and I won't go too much into this. I've spoken about Dynasty to almost nauseating levels of fandom this year, but hey, it's a fun ride. To this CD, This is my favorite Christmas present from Dan. Very special time for me. I was, in high school. Brett, Danny, myself were all collecting the back catalog of Kiss. So one Christmas we decide we'll all buy each other a Kiss CD. And on Christmas Eve we exchanged those gifts. And it was just the magic of Christmas, the magic of Kiss. And Danny gave me this CD. And that holiday Christmas break, man, I played this CD over and over and over again. And 30 some years later, it's my favorite album of all time. So, huge soft spot in my heart for this CD. Next up, we're going to go Alive 3. I love this era. I'm not ashamed at all to say that my favorite era of the band is Eric Singer, Bruce Kulick, Gene, and Paul. This was such an extraordinary era. The Revenge Tour, that band was a well-oiled machine. Alive 3 just has a special place in my heart. And I remember, like it was yesterday, driving to Liberty Sound and Video during a summer pop-up thunderstorm to buy this CD on release day. And just one of those memories that's never left me. And I love Alive 3. And one of the only CDs from back then, I saved the hype sticker. That hype sticker is taped to this CD with scotch tape from my mom's craft drawer. So there you go. It's all for you, demon. Teenage life, childhood nostalgia. Can't talk about the 90s without talking about Hot in the Shade. And this CD was huge to me because this was my first purchase. I became a fan in late 88. Smashes was already out. Hot in the Shade was the first release I was a part of as a fan, as a member of the Kiss Army, and buying this CD meant the world to me. Played this thing so much through high school. This is like my high school soundtrack CD. I still love it. King of Hearts, You Love Me to Hate You are still two of my favorite Paul Stanley songs of all time. And this was an era where bands started putting artwork on the CD, and I think Hot in the Shade deserves an award for one of the coolest artwork on a CD releases. The use of the mirrored CD coating as the sunglasses for the album cover is priceless. And we can't talk the release of CDs without talking the release of Kiss My Ass. I was taking a summer biology class the day this was released. Got out at 11, and I remember I left that class and met Danny in the Record Warehouse parking lot to buy this CD and the album. And it's also kind of weird when you think about it, how big vinyl is today. Like, when the vinyl release of this came out, it was just kind of like an afterthought. And so it's weird to me to think back to back then that, like, a new vinyl release didn't really mean a lot because vinyl collecting wasn't really a thing. And now, everything's coming out on vinyl. But what meant the most to us out of anything was weeks later, after buying the CD, we were sitting in my room and Danny and I were looking at the CD, and I happened to look into that CD hole, and I saw that little line, and I was like, what in the hell is that? Open it up to reveal the letter from Paul and Gene to Ace and Peter and the little memorial for Eric Carr. And it was so cool because you have to put yourself into a world that was pre-internet. The internet was not around to tell us these things unless you read it in a magazine or saw it in an interview that note was there. You had to simply discover it, like Danny and I discovered it in 1994, and it was absolutely magical. And I just one of the coolest things. I think we popped it open, saw it, and took off running to Brett's house to tell him about it. And it was just so cool, so magical. I miss these days. And side note, the Kiss My Ass vinyl, I never, ever, 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 ever see in the wild. And one last go-to in the CD appreciation video is going to be Psycho Circus. And for one reason only. This is the last CD that I went in to buying a Kiss release blind. And I chalk that up to the internet not really being in every house at the time. I know that the internet was like a big thing at college and probably in businesses, but you didn't have it at home. And it was so fun to buy this CD not knowing anything about it. And half of that love was going into this album blind. I remember when Sonic Boom was going to be released. And before the album even hit the stores, every effing song was on YouTube. And I hate that because it just really kills the magic. And the magic of music to me is waking up early, taking the day off, going and getting a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, waiting for that music store to open. It opens, you grab your CD, you head back home, and you spend all day long in a living room rock and roll heaven diving into that album. And that is magic you don't get from streaming. And I think the reason I'm digging CDs now, all of a sudden I just started, one day just kind of fell back into it. I think I love it because I can load my 5-disc changer in the basement up with 5 CDs, hit shuffle all disc, and it's magic. And like CDs, the sound quality is better than vinyl, and it's so much easier to find a song. I think I'm kind of burnt on vinyl. I'll still buy it. I still love it. I still love to look for Kiss records. I still love foreign pressings, of course, in vinyl. I'm an 80s kid. I'm a 90s kid. CDs are awesome, and if CDs make a comeback like vinyl did, that would be pretty cool to see. And before we leave tonight, a little nostalgic gold from our buddy FL Dog. He gave me this incredible gift of Kiss Longbox CD covers. This is like going back to the mall, Music Land, and buying a CD. Remember these giant boxes and you had to open it at one end and pull your CD out? This is straight back to my teenage days, and especially with Hot in the Shade. How fun is that? I remember it saying compact disc at the bottom, like you didn't know what you were buying. I never owned Rock and Roll Over Longbox. Mine was a Sound Saver and did not have the Longbox art. Same with Unmasked. Did not have the Longbox. Mine was a Sound Saver. But I do want to say, look it up, I did have the Longbox 4. I know I did not for Creatures of the Night, but man, this takes me back to the mall. Thank you, FL Dog, for this. So magical, so much fun. The Hot in the Shade, man, that just warms my heart. The Rock and Roll Over is so badass with those logos, but this is just the topper of the CD appreciation video. A little nostalgic trip back to collecting that back catalog in the late 80s, early 90s, and the fun we had before the internet ruined the world. Thank you for hanging with us tonight and waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia CD fun with us here in the Wax Night Basement. Take care, be safe, be good to your babies. Spay, neuter, microchip. We will talk to you soon.